there's times that because we know and love Cody, we overlook some of the obvious, so to speak, things that other people see. And I want to be perfectly clear that what you see is not necessarily what defines her. But what does define her does initiate with her birth. And Cody's a second-born twin. She has a beautiful sister, Olivia, who loves her dearly. And in fact, I think it's common with twins that they share their pain with each other. They are deeply empathetic for each other. They are keenly aware of what's going on with each other, whether they see each other or not. And I know that because of my husband and his twin brother, Glenn and Gary. So with Cody, to go back to the beginning, and again, I don't want this to define her, but I want you to understand what she's lived through to become the person she currently is. She's exceptionally brave. She is so strong. For her to come into this world 12 minutes without oxygen and choose to keep fighting until she could live is a testament to who she is as a person. Because of the length of time without oxygen, Cody does have a global cognitive delay. So it does take time for her to process things and help you to understand her thought patterns. Because of where her brain injury occurred, she's also legally blind. And most people would not even consider that because Cody uses her head and her ears to turn around. She does have vision, but it's limited. And so in all due respect to Cody, treat her like, you would any other person, and be respectful of her personal space. She deserves to know that she is safe, that people are not going to bombard her, they're not going to trip into her, they're going to be respectful of that personal space, just like you would want to be respected of your own personal space. It helps you to gain that sense of security and that sense of belonging and trust, most of all trust. Unfortunately, again, as part of the brain injury, Cody has had a seizure disorder. By the grace of God and the knowledge of an amazing naturopath, we've been able to keep her medication free and seizure free for about close to 10 years now, and we're grateful for that. She's undergone some pretty rigorous surgeries. In fact, I don't like needles, and that young woman is so strong. And when she was only 9 years old, she had her left hip operated on. And this is pretty graphic, guys, but it helps you to understand just when you are helping Cody to move and to position her, it's important for you to understand these things. So when she was very young, she had her hip broken, her pelvis broken, and her femur reset and pinned in place. 6 years later, she had her other hip broken, pelvis broken, femur set in place. All of those things contributed to Cody kind of understanding that she was strong, but it contributed to some of her fear as well, her fear of going to a doctor's office, or fear of going to a hospital, fear of being around people that tell her one thing and do something different. So it's really important that she can trust you and she feels safe with you, and she knows that whether what she says or what you say, that you're going to honor that with her so that she is trusted, and that she's always part of the decision-making process, that she's always well informed, that she is given the guidelines, she's given the social story, she's given the parameters in which to expect the next situation that she's going to be in to be like. Who's going to be there? What noises will be there? What may happen? Will there be children crying? Will there be things dropped? Will there be loud noises? All of those things, because when you're limited with your visual sense, those things are much more amplified, and it helps to provide that safe environment. And you are the keeper of that environment for her as you spend time with her. It's also important to know that just 3 years ago, she had all of that surgery redone. and all those plates and pins and screws removed. So we don't know. I mean, her bones look to be in pretty good condition, but we're not 100% certain. Part of her cerebral palsy also makes her to be extremely rigid in her body movement. So you have to be really aware of that and how you position yourself with her, and also be willing to be calm and patient, because one moment she may be relaxed enough for you to assist her, other times she might not, and be willing to plan well ahead so that those things can be done in a way that is comfortable and safe and secure for Cody. This is about her. This isn't about following an agenda to the time limit. This isn't about where we have to be, when we have to be, how we have to be. This is about making sure that she feels absolutely safe and secure and comfortable where she is now, what you're doing with her, being respectful, allowing her to have her dignity at all times, in all places, regardless of who is there, and regardless of how you feel, because this is about her. You are supporting her to live her very best life, not being concerned about who's listening, who's watching, who's aware, but just support her every second, especially in those moments where you feel like she's in a crisis, and sit back and think, what may have just happened? What may have just happened that could have provoked Cody having an outburst? Did I bump her? Was there a loud noise? Because we become so unaware, because we have all of our senses fine-tuned, but she is limited, and she's trying to discern her world around her without all of the resources available to her. So it's really important that first and foremost, we respect her dignity, we respect her right to safety, we respect her right to her voice, to be heard, to be understood, to be meaningful and actively engaged in her world, meaningfully and actively engaged in all decisions about her life. Whether it comes time to whatever. I mean, I can't even begin. I could list 1,000 things that are relevant that we often, because we have all of our senses intact, that we don't think about. Whether it's, Cody, we're going to be going through a doorway. It's a little bit narrow, or you might feel like you're going to bump into something, but I'm going to be really careful with you so that you don't. Things like that is just always being that voice. And as her dad said earlier, I have been blindfolded, and I have been required to trust the person that I was holding on to lead me down a pathway that included stairs up and stairs down, multiple stairwells, by the way, elevators, hallways, narrow hallways, unusual terrain. And I had to trust that person. But I never at one moment felt insecure and unsafe, because that person constantly told me what to anticipate each step along the way. And when we empower Cody by being her eyes and that voice that but helps her to feel so secure and comfortable, we're going to see Cody just start to come alive. And you're going to just enjoy the benefit of seeing Cody living such a vivacious life, the life of contribution and joy and all of the things that, like me, she wants to be a part of. So we're just really excited about that. There are times, I'm sure you've felt it yourself, and Cody does, that aside from everything else that we've done to provide for her a very wonderful life, that sometimes in the month, it might be a full moon, it might be like in August when we're going to see Mars and the moon align together, it might be the change in seasons, but you're going to see a change in Cody's mood. And that's not uncommon for a lot of people. Some people express it more and some people express it less. but you may see a change in her mood as a result of that. And there are things to put in place when that happens to help her come in and out of those periods of time with the least amount of disruption in her life. So we've spoken about Cody's challenging birth and the incredible fighter that she is and her desire to survive in this crazy world. And you'll sometimes hear Cody say, "It's okay. It's okay. I'm so brave. It's okay." And I know that she's telling us in her way that, "Mom, it's okay that I am who I am. And I am just wanting to be the best who I can be, who I am, in my finest." It took me a while to understand, with the complexities of Cody's physical limitations, what was really going on with her cognitively and some of the other areas that we had to try to learn to understand her and how she communicates with her world. Cody falls under the autism spectrum as well, and when you're living with that, your perspective on everything can be different. And one of the most heightened senses of awareness is the sense of danger, the sense of insecurity, the sense of loss, the sense of trying to find meaning, the overstimulation in her environment. I try to understand why Cody would speak like a little chatterbox when she was laying down still with me, but when she was sitting in her chair, she barely spoke. And I came to understand it was because there was just so much going on in her world, so many things that with her limited amount of vision that were coming at her, sounds that were coming at her, and visual stimulation and physical stimulation, whether that was the sound of the wind, the sound of the grass being cut, the sound of a baby crying, all of those things contributed to her inability to be able to decipher through all of that and first and foremost say, "Am I safe here?" Because I didn't know she felt unsafe. So for me to find that out and understand, first of all, is she safe? Is there a way that I can help her to know what to expect in the world around her when she sees it through maybe a periscope, maybe that kaleidoscope of colors, sees things a little bit differently than I do because her filters are a little bit different. So her perception, her depth of perception is a little bit different. Her way that she perceives what is spoken to her may be a little bit different than you and I. A concrete question like, "Cody, would you like to go for a walk?" may have to be posed to her 2 or 3 different ways. And she may say no at first because you haven't explained to her enough about what that means. Where are we going to the walk? Who's going to be with us on the walk? Where am I going when I go out for the walk? Is it going to be bumpy? Will I be going across the London Street Bridge? Because I don't like that bridge. It makes too much noise and my chair feels really bouncy and sometimes it hurts me and it's too loud. And will there be dogs barking? Will there be people passing by? Maybe you want to focus on the fact that yes, there's going to be a lot of people out there, Cody. You might run into people and they might want to say hi to you. So if we see people before they come, I'm going to say, "Hey, Cody, they're getting closer. You might want to say hi to them when they get here." Because some of those social, what's the word I'm looking for? That social etiquette isn't necessarily understood when you're living with autism. It's things that have to be taught patiently, scripted, so that script becomes part of her normal conversation. And stories told about what potentially could happen in her environment around her when she's out in her community and when she's meeting with people. I mean, I know myself as a young girl just going out in our neighborhood and my sisters being that much more aware because I was so excited just to be out, and if I saw a stranger, I wanted to talk to them. But my sister, being so much different than me, was aware of the potential danger because she could sense it and feel it and was acutely aware of what the person looked like, how they were carrying themselves. And as we are out with Cody in community, in her world, we are those eyes. We are those ears. We are her voice when she is limited in being able to express herself. And most of all, we are her guardian and her protector. That's when you're going to see Cody really open up to you and trust you, feel safe with you, and express herself as the amazing young woman that she is.